Hello everybody, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. And in this video I'm coming back at you with another spawn, and this time we're going to be doing the treasure spawn with Chopin, Performer of Light. Okay, so let's get into this monster. Okay, so right here we have good damage to start off with. Ability power of 180 and damages 4 times with a success value of 100. From there, we have a lot of diverse abilities, and overall, I could say pretty much this monster is definitely a good monster to have, all hands down, no questions asked. It's not like top tier. It's not like if you miss the monster, you're going to miss the current meta. That's not the case, but this monster is definitely a handy monster to have, no joke. Okay, so let's actually get into this and why I say this monster is a handy monster to have. This monster is the most all-in-one Unison Gauge fill monster in the game that I can think of. We might have like a weaker version of this monster, you could say, would pretty much be, where is she? I know I have her in here. Galileo. Galileo does like the increased use of Gauge gains by 2 for all allies, and then increases use of Gauge gains of all, use of Gauge of all allies by 20 for everybody except yourself. This monster pretty much does the same thing, except on top of it, it casts a buff that fills use of Gauge by 5 every 10 seconds for a period of 60, and then increases the maximum use of Gauge of all allies by 10 for 120 seconds. Now, I'm not gonna say you need all that, to be fairly honest, because you really don't. You only need like maybe 2 Unison Gauge buffs, and you're legitimately good to go. As long as you have the increased use of Gauge gains, you're pretty much set from there. You're legitimately set from there. You don't need all these use of Gauge gain effects, to be fairly honest. If you have a good monster, you could just combo with it that has use of Gauge gains. You really don't need all these use of Gauge gains, but it gets there quicker. Like, it gets there a lot quicker for you, especially if you're new to this game and you don't have art ofs like some of the end game players. It helps you get there a lot quicker. It seriously does. So it's definitely handy to have. It's not needed whatsoever under any circumstance to have that many use of Gauge fills, but it definitely does come in handy, and it might help for guild battles. Not exactly sure how that's gonna go for guild battles 100%. I know for a fact though it's going to help out a lot, at least if you need like a use of Gauge gain monster. This would be the best choice for that, but at the same time, like said, there's monsters out there that do this like use of Gauge gains, like the most important use of Gauge buff, and they have like better combos like increased ability power, attack, magic attack buffs, or cast beast, cast awakening, something out there that helps the team as well besides use of Gauge gains. This one's just straight up use of Gauge gains, so that's honestly not bad. It does help, but it's not exactly 100% needed. On the flip side though, this is good for both player versus player and player versus enemy. I know this sounds weird, but the reason I'm saying this is because it's a 37 cost to start off with. 37 costs are the highest cost right now besides the 40 costs, so if you manage to get 37 costs, you're definitely going to have more battle score, and on top of it, being 37 costs, it does good damage to the enemy team. It then increases the max use of Gauge of all allies by 10 for 120 seconds. That's a full 120 seconds. So right there, that is beautiful. Really beautiful stuff. So what I'm trying to get at is if you manage to actually survive more than one round finding a guild and you pop this monster, right? Obviously it's a 37 cost, so if your team is using pretty much 36s and 37s, you have a high chance to win. You legitimately have a high chance to win. Of course 40s too. If you're fighting an endgame guild, 40s are expected. You have a really high chance of winning. And from there, this pretty much does what extended Unison does. If you think about it that way, it pretty much does what extended Unison does. So if you manage to pop this monster, it's pretty much an extended Unison for double the amount of time. So if you already have it, you're already using extended Unisons on top of there. That's pretty nasty right there. You're going to be going through a lot of negative pressures and ominous omens depending on your strategy possibly. If we got this monster for my guild, it definitely would help out a lot. Anomi would be good as well, but that's 35 costs, and 37 costs are definitely going to have a lot more battle score than 35 costs. Well, not a lot, but they're going to have more battle score. And then it casts light element to the allied field for 120 seconds as well, and that's a full 120 seconds. The light field, or whatever it's called, is pretty much what Chopin does. It's legitimately a buff on top of it. It's literally like a mixed version of kind of, if you think about it, like Chopin and I just forgot her name. Galileo, all in one, except it doesn't have like increased cost, recovery speed, or ward, or what's not. But this buff right here increases magic attack and magic defense of all allies, and then it does like light spirit unison buff, attack buff or whatever, and then it does like some side stuff on top of it. But you get what I'm saying here. So it has its own buff on top of it, and it's unique. So that way it mixes good with hero. What else we got? Michaela's buff, like the increased buff limit, and then like the 80% attack and magic attack. It goes well with Beast, Awakening, any of that funky jazz, to be fairly honest. So yes, this is a pretty nice monster to have, good for both player versus player and guild battles. I wouldn't say player versus enemy awfully too much. Like if you're doing Coliseum or you're doing duel rooms, this may not be the best choice unless you're trying to win the Unison battle. Other than that, I don't really see the purpose in this. But yeah, for that purpose and the Unison gauge gains, I would definitely recommend this for guild battles. And then and it's got good damage, obviously, so it can back up as well because it's got good damage. And if you don't have something that's going to apply like a field buff, which you should, hashtag Ariel, this monster does like the light element field buff, so that way you got at least something for your team, to be fairly honest. But yeah, it's pretty much covering this monster, and it's got like the 30% elevation on your character for 60 seconds. This could be good if you have like depending on these like armors you have in your main slot. This could be good, to be fairly honest. Like if you have art ofs, like armors in your main slot, or possibly even nullifies, depending on if like they're infused or not, this could be definitely useful. It's not going to be like the best ability in the world or something like that. No, it could come in handy, to be fairly honest. It's not going to be 100% in handy. So yeah, that's pretty much covering the monster and all around it and what's so not. So definitely not a bad monster. I was expecting them to come out with way worse monsters for Valentine's Day, but they didn't. So I'm a little bit sad on that side, but like I'm willing to accept what we have here, because it's definitely not no top tier monster. It's definitely good, don't get me wrong, this is a very good monster, but it's not like top tier very good. Definitely can be useful in both scenarios, in both situations. I'd say this is definitely more handy in guild battles. It can be used in player versus enemy though, definitely. Very nice monster for player versus enemy. But for that reason, like, it depends on the strategy. For some people, this may not be as useful for guild battles, and for some people, this may be pretty dang useful for guild battles. Anyways, let's talk about the treasure spawn. Okay, so we got first time half off, 15 gems, but they're gonna have like little to no rates on the monster or getting SSRs in the first place. So you're probably not gonna get the monster just straight up through gear spawn like whatsoever. Like, it's near mythical. It's legitimately near mythical to actually obtain the monster that way. But you will be getting 50 to 200 medals per each spawn, so that's very, very nice. And you got 6 chests. Okay, so let's look at what they have in these chests. And looking at these chests are beautiful. They make me want to cry, seriously. Thank you, A-Team. Thank you. I'm liking these chest medals right now. Seriously, they're beyond phenomenal. They're beautiful. They're seriously beautiful. Oh my god, they really are. But anyways, moving on from there. Okay, so if you're new to this game, or perhaps you're new to Treasure and Divine Grace spawns, I just want to let you all know summoning scrolls have pretty dang low rates. You're not like, if you do a jackpot, please don't do it to get the summoning scroll, because like, it's gonna take like 50 jackpots before you get your first summoning scroll, possibly. You might take your first if you're lucky and you're a brand fresh new account, but for the most of you, it's probably gonna take about 50 of those jackpots to actually get a summoning scroll, if not, to be fairly honest. Then we got the treasure medal. 1k from the jackpot. That is very, very nice. We got 600 in the side chest and 400 in one of the side chests, so that's super, super awesome, because that means this is a cheap treasure spawn, at least for the monster itself. Let's actually go over the item exchange, or what they have in the exchange. They don't have much in the exchange whatsoever. On the flip side, even though this is a cheap treasure spawn, they don't have anything really in the item exchange, sadly, whatsoever, to make it really worth going after, unless you're going after the monster itself. If you're going after the monster itself, sure, it may be helpful, but if you're not going after the monster itself, there's really not much you could do here, except for this dark stuff down here. Perhaps you're interested in grabbing it, because the light dragon will be coming out, the light 40 cost dragon. Oh yeah, I never really got to mention it. I totally forgot to mention it, but some of you are unfamiliar what 40 cost dragons are. 40 cost dragons have been out for, I think, not a couple months. I'd say about 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there type of months, to be fairly honest. 40 cost dragons are, as you can see right here, they really don't have too much of a good ability. They do good damage, definitely. 40 cost dragons, as you all know, the higher the cost of the monster, the more battle score it's going to give. That's the whole purpose, is for battles. Unison battles, during guild battles or Coliseum. If you pop 40 costs, it's definitely going to give a lot of battle score during a Unison battle. So if your team manages to have one, or have a couple, it's definitely going to help out. Usually a couple would be enough to get you near the grand tournament, so yeah, because there's not a lot of people that actually have 40 cost dragons, considering how hard it is to get, not just to do the mission, but like the drops in general are not fair whatsoever. There are people who do this day in and out sometimes, like occasionally there's people who do this in day and out night and legitimately only get relics. In fact, there are some people who farm this like crazy and still haven't gotten the 40 cost dragon. So the drop rates aren't exactly 100% fair, to be honest. For a good amount, I wouldn't say good amount, I'm not exactly sure, to be fairly honest, but I do see a couple people raging that they never got the 40 cost dragon, even though they farmed it a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much covering the 40 cost dragons. The only ones that are still not out are the star and the time and the light. After that, they pretty much came out with all 40 cost dragons, and by that time I'm pretty much expecting them to come out with 40 cost stuff. So yeah, but anyways, moving on from there, that's it for this video. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for watching, and I hope this helped out. This is the AzureWrath, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'm out. Peace.